if you take nothing out of this today, please, especially the young troops, because it's confusing when you're dealing with credit cards and you're mobilizing, when you're deploying and mortgages. Tell them they have somebody that can help them. They have somebody that can investigate it and get to the bottom of it. So we really want to hear from them. Now, just because Holly Petraeus says to save and Andy Dennison says to save, that's the end of it, right? Everybody's going to run out and do that. Absolutely not. This is very personal. I did financial counseling for years. Matter of fact, today in the audience, a young woman came up to me that I had as a client 10 years ago, and she was wonderful, and she's such a success. Her life, she's telling me how wonderful her life is. I just love it. Because when you start talking about goals for your life, sometimes that sounds so blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, everybody's telling me to set a goal for my job, my this, my that. You know what this is? It's about your hopes and it's about your dreams. It's where you want your life to be. What do you want your life to look like in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years? What do you want for your kids? What do you want for your relationship? Then we need to kind of take that dream and finance it. We want to find little ways to get the money to put aside to make those things happen. When I did financial counseling with people leaving the military, a lot of them were like me. They said, I should have, I was gonna, boy, I wish I had. You don't want to be that. We want to make sure our young troops are not that. We want to help them vision what they want for their lives and make that dream come true. And there are ways we can do that, but there's things that get in the way, aren't there? It's just not easy. What are some of the things that prevent us from doing those things that we can to make our dreams come true? What gets in your way?
Procrastination.
Excellent. How many procrastinators are in here? I am so that, let me tell you. And that got in my way quite a bit because I wasn't paying the bill on time, taking care to do the right, sign the right paperwork, do the things I was supposed to. People like me have no business having software like Quicken. We have no business having that. I am so jealous of people that can do that because they get wonderful results from it. But for me, total failure because I will not take the time or do it on time to make it a good tool. So you have to know what works for you. That's the important thing. What kind of manager are you of your finances? I don't like a lot of complication. I want it quick and down because it's only should be a tool to make my dreams come true. It shouldn't consume my life. So, matter of fact, Brandon, pull that up. There's a lot of things that get in the way. I used to know there was going to be trouble when somebody would walk in with a backpack and their LESs and their bills were all scrunched up in there. And luckily, electronic billing can help a little bit if that's what works for you. You can keep things a little bit organized. And of course, debt. Debt is the biggest deterrent to wealth there is. You can't think about your job. You're constantly thinking about your debt. It's just exhausting. It's hard to be happy when you have a lot of debt. So there's lots of easy ways. I shouldn't say easy ways. There's easy tools. There's things like PowerPay that work wonderful. They're free. They're online. It tells you a way to do it. When I did mine, I used PowerPay from Utah State, and it gives you a calendar to show you the day you're debt free. I used to put that on my mirror, and when I wanted to go buy shoes, I love shoes. When I wanted to go buy too many shoes, I'd go, if I do that, this isn't going to get paid, and this isn't going to happen. So it was a motivation. But oh, by the way, I had a shoe budget. I'm all about budgeting for fun, just not so much fun you don't get this paid off. It's a little bit of a balance. So if you love to go out to eat, do it 2 less times a month and stash that money. But still have your 2 times. And don't let anybody mess with you when you have that. So that's part of it. Because as military folks, we have a tendency to run into more emergency situations, don't we? Anybody have children? Yeah, kids equal emergency, don't they? Yeah, there's always something. So you have to plan for it. Or it's like a car. What'd you say?
That's your biggest mortgage.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I've never heard that put that way. That's very good. I'm going to use that if you don't mind. It's like why we think our cars are not going to break down. I was an aircraft mechanic. Machines break. So why am I surprised when I need money for an alternator? I should know that's going to happen. I'm going to need tires every couple years. Why am I not stashing a little bit for this? So if you have a good budget, they call it spend plan now. It's a budget. If you have little chunks of money, you don't have to worry about that. It takes that stress away. I did emergency response for the Navy family for a while, and we repatriated folks out of wildfire situations. When I was at DOD, when they came out of Japan, people that had savings were more resilient to what was going on to them. The people that had no money, it was so harder for them, even though they were going to get some, and the military was taking care of them. There was sometimes delays, there was other things. It just made things harder. So doing that makes you able to respond to the emergencies that come up in your life. So you need to do that for yourself. Next slide, because this is what happens. Your stress goes away, your relationships get better. Every time I would have a couple that had money problems, they could not talk about it, but they could fight about it, let me tell you. So what we want to do is bring the conversation down to a productive level, and that's knowing what's important to each of them and figuring out how to meet those needs together and having that conversation and not being afraid of it. Even if you know when you sit down and do that initial budget and you call Military One Source or you have a PFC that is such a wonderful resource for Guard and Reserve from DOD, the personal financial counselors, and they do that initial, even if it's ugly, it's powerful because you get to know where you're starting from. And you feel like you have a little bit of control because you're going to move forward. So take that time to do that. It also makes you more powerful in the marketplace. If something happened to your FICO score, which can happen, you have 30-day late payment, your FICO score drops 100 points. If you happen to be deployed and missed one and they don't want to talk to you about it, first off, call us. But if you then need to go get some money and they look at your FICO score, if you have money in the bank, it'll level that out a little bit. They will look at that a little more favorably, look at you because you have some security behind you. And then, of course, it makes your transitions easier. As you're coming on active duty, off active duty, you're deploying, you're coming off deployment, you're having children, you're getting married, you're getting divorced, whatever transition in your life, it makes it easier to do if you have some savings behind you. So make sure that what's really important, next slide, which to me is this, whatever this looks like for you, whatever you want from that final, the time when it's all about you, take a little time to be a little selfish, planning to get this. This could be, whatever it is, whatever your dream is, you can make that come true. Any questions about the Consumer Financial Bureau or any of the things that Brandon's talked about or any of the hints about savings? Go ahead.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Just going back to her slide of the, the budgets that people, those companies have to advertise. It's the conflict in education.
Yes, you bet it is.
We are target,
yes, it is.
Target to spend
yep.
money.
Yes.
How many people are here?
Yes, and they're good at it, aren't they? They're very good at it. That's why we are hoping that if we can get people to look at those things coming into their life through a filter.
We're bombarded.
Yes.
Every second.
Every second.
Everywhere we go.
And isn't it, I got suckered into most of it. And then you start to learn, don't you? How did you turn that around for yourself? We want to try to help folks get some of that without sounding preachy, because they could care less about my history. They're 18 and they're looking at me like, you're too old to be spending money anyway, so what do you care? Those kind of things. So we have to find ways that get to what's important to you. When you make it personal, suddenly those bombardments, you're looking at them like, oh no, you're not doing that to me, because I'll make you rich instead of me. But it's a personal thing, isn't it? So people like you in leadership positions, hearing those kind of things, having conversations with people around that can sometimes be very helpful. I think if we all keep working at it, maybe we'll get to there. At least the advertisements they're going to get, they're going to have to be truthful and clear to what people are doing, at least in this financial space that we live in. Excellent point. Anything else? All right. Thanks very much for your time.